Anora stars Mikey Madison as an exotic dancer escort, and she is so good in this role, she will convince you this is what she actually does for a living. Don't ask me how I know that. So the story follows Annie, an exotic dancer and an escort who gets tangled up and kind of falls in love with a rich client one night. Basically what you have is you have this rich Russian kid. He shows up to the club she works at, demands to talk to a dancer who also speaks Russian because he's Russian. They send her over because she knows how to understand it. And the two of them hit it off. That's what's going to happen. They're going to go partying and drink and do drugs and most importantly, fuck. There's a lot of that in this film. And that's what's going to happen for the first hour of this. But little known to her, the reason this kid is rich is because he has ties to an incredibly powerful Russian family. And another problem for her, they are not okay with the fact that he just married an escort. So there's a little bit of drama that comes with that. And going back to what I said when I described the plot of this, when I said they hit it off. Hit it off was a term I used very loosely because what they're actually going to do is fuck like jackrabbits for the first hour. That's right. The entire first hour of this movie is basically watching Mikey Madison as this escort and this rich Russian kid going around and just screwing every scene. This movie has to set some sort of record for the most sex scenes in a film, if not the first hour of it. I mean, it is pretty ridiculous, but at the same time, I have to say it is ridiculously entertaining. I was never bored during this film. It's kind of interesting. A movie that sounds so simple, sounds so stupid, and like a filler movie can be this good. I don't know. This was an unexpected one. I have to imagine it went something like this when the director was pitching this role to Mikey Madison. Just one more scene, Mikey, I promise. The 39th scene is parallel to the plot. Please, we need one more scene. It's crucial we get that scene. Because it is just never ending. And I got to point that out because it is funny when you're watching it. The way it feels to watch this, you kind of don't even feel like you're watching a movie at a certain point, but I digress. Anyways, there was a point in time in this movie I was watching it and I was entertained, as I said, for the entire time. And I just started thinking, like, what is the point of this? Because I've watched the same thing so many times. It's entertaining, don't get me wrong. It's ridiculous. But I had the thought in my mind of, like, what's the point of this film as a whole? Like, why is this movie made? Because there was just so much fucking and so little plotting. But there comes a point in this film, about the halfway point exactly, where it does an absolute 180 tonal shift. The first half of this movie is exactly what I said. It's just partying and doing drugs and hooking up. Second half of this movie flips on its head completely. It gets to be very serious. It's like this crime drama comedy. I don't even know how to describe it, where you're having these henchmen following around Anora and they're looking for this kid. Basically what happens is the family gets hold of the idea they're having this marriage and they wanted to know immediately. They are not okay with this. It's dishonor to the family. They send these henchmen to the door to get this kid and take them to the courthouse. The kid runs off. So you're following in the second half of the film Anora with these three henchmen just going around looking for this kid, and it is downright hilarious. I did not expect this to be so funny. This is probably one of the funniest films I saw this year. This movie is nonstop laughter in the second half. There was a good 20 or 30 minute chunk, I'm not even joking. And if you've seen the movie, you probably know the chunk I'm talking about, where I laughed for 20 minutes consecutively, and I did not expect that. So this movie is a great time. Very weird, very strange in tone, especially how it feels in the first half compared to the second. But I had an absolute blast with this thing. One of the bigger reasons why this film got so much festival hype and people were praising it was because of the performance of Mikey Madison as Annie the dancer. And she was in Scream 5, you know, she had her moment, her reveal. But for context, I really wasn't very crazy with her performance. I thought it was okay. I actually forgot she was in that film until they revealed what she was doing because I just thought she blended right in. Nothing exceptional whatsoever. But I watched this film. I'm sure if you watch this film, you'll be in my coat. She is exceptional for multiple reasons, let's just say. But in all seriousness, she's absolutely fucking fantastic in this role, and I totally understand why she has the buzz she's gotten, because Oscar contender, for sure. She's asked to do so much in this. Her role as a dancer, very convincing. She has some emotional elements. She has some elements where she's screaming in terror. I think she's just absolutely phenomenal in this role. Definitely the best part of it. And it's awesome because a movie this simple that has such a basic storyline, even though it does change, could feel very generic and straight to VOD, like a Hulu movie, but it doesn't. It feels like high art. It feels like a very well-made movie, a movie that has a purpose. And that's because of her performance. So I need to point it out. Mikey Madison, definitely one of my favorite performances of the year, if not my favorite. She is just awesome in this. What's really cool about this film is they managed to blend two completely different movies together from that first and second half, but they feel holistic. Sometimes when you have a movie that does this, a massive tonal shift, let's use Barbarian for an example, some people get lost when the shift happens. I don't think that's the case with this film. I think it's good throughout. And you know, I have a couple of issues in the second half, mainly it being so chaotic and energetic, it never stops. The second half of this film is relentless. It's emotionally taxing. It will be too much for some people, so that's not lost on me. You have to be in the right state of mind to watch this film, especially the second half, because it is so nonstop. People yelling, people talking over one another. It is just balls to the wall, 24/7. It never stops. So that's kind of a negative in and of itself, but it's also a positive because it goes to show how good the writing is, that it's relentless. It never stops. The movie just keeps on moving. It never feels like it's pointless. That's a positive and a negative at the same time, but it's something I need to point out. In all honesty, though, there was a single moment where I started to question how much I actually liked this film in the second half, because I was having a really good time with it. And it just kept going and going, and I was getting a little bit exhausted for reasons I said, because it's just so chaotic. But the ending of this movie happened, and I thought it was probably one of the best and most powerful endings of the year. I absolutely loved the ending of this, and I thought it was damn near perfect. The way they wrap this all up, they give you some characters' incentives and motivations and what drives them, and kind of explain things in a very subtle way. I thought it was very smart. I thought it was very purposeful. I thought it all made sense, and it made this whole movie wrap up and feel a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and it made this entire experience enjoyable from start to finish. And the last thing I have to say is that I really think the power of this movie is the performance of Mikey Madison and what she manages to do in that role, because the arc of this character from start to finish and what she goes through, it's basically impossible for anybody in this film, anybody watching this film, to not feel something for her character, her journey, for where she starts, where she finishes, why she is the way she is, the way they explain all of that. I thought it was done really, really well, and I thought it was a movie I would definitely revisit. It has some great acting, great soundtrack, chaotic and enjoyable, a very weird and strange experience, but if you're in the right headspace, I definitely recommend it. I think this one's definitely worth buying on Blu-ray. So have you guys seen or heard of Anora? If you have, comment down below, or just let me know what your favorite weird movie you enjoy is. As always, if you haven't subscribed, join me down below, but I'll see you in the next video. Peace.